Welcome to Touched and Empowered, a show created to empower individuals to value their lives by hosting think tank discussions that will inspire positive action. Touched and Empowered with Katie and Ace starts now.
Hello, everyone. It's so great to be back with Dr. Pamela Henkel. I adore her. She's been such an incredible light to us. And, I think you're in for a really good show today. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Dr. Pamela Henkel. Individuals with charisma, compassion, and ingenuity have the power to shift the world into greatness. Dr. Pamela Henkel embodies these traits and is an international best-selling author, multifaceted compere, speaker, elite coach, CEO, and founder of Purpose with Pamela and Pamela Henkel Ministries. Dr. Henkel's mission is to add value to as many lives as possible, reminding people they are here on purpose by design. She holds a doctorate in philosophy, Christian leadership, and business, and serves on the board of regents for Cornerstone University. As a dedicated servant to people, Dr. Henkel founded the prestigious Purpose Awards, The Pamela Show, and more. She extends her podcast, international radio, and social platforms globally to promote the voice of many. Dr. Henkel's expertise has led to her positions as elite head coach at the Million and You Academy and as an international speaker and minister. She's been nominated as one of the top 50 women of business and has received the Unsung Hero Award for helping people get the education they deserve. Dr. Henkel coaches authors and collaborates with DNP Publishing to help people achieve their publishing dreams. Dr. Henkel is in the docudrama Think and Grow Rich Moms Rising, inspiring and empowering women to reach their full potential. She calls Minnesota her home, cherishing time with her family and pets. She also encourages people to be the salt and the light wherever they go. Interesting. So I think that's such a wonderful segue into one of our top questions. What do you mean by the salt and the light wherever you go?
Oh, I love that question. Well, first of all, thank you to both of you for having me here. This is so exciting to me. Being a podcast host, I don't have as many opportunities to be a guest. And so I really appreciate this. It's fun to be on the other side. I'm really looking forward to this time. So thank you. I appreciate it so much. I also want to thank you both for bringing in all your next best you international best-selling authors to your platform. Woo, woo, woo. It has been such a treasure and a treat for them to be a part of your community. I'm so grateful for that. So I want to say thank you to you both right away for that. And I'd love to dive into your question, the salt and the light. Well, typically, we hear that and we think of a scripture to be the salt and the light because Jesus said to be the salt and the light. But to me, when we're talking about being the salt and the light, well, the salt represents flavor. And so without salt, there's no flavor really per se on what you're eating or, at all. So the salt represents the flavor of life. And so as we go out and we are being the salt, we're supposed to be being kind, goodness, love, helpful, connecting people, looking for the best in others, even when someone else isn't seeing it. We are looking for the best. We're not looking we're looking past the disappointments and seeing the heart of a person. When things are turning south, we're still looking for the due north. So to me, being the salt means we are adding flavor. You come into a situation that has challenges, you are going to come in to be an agent of change. Salt also is a preservative. Yay! So it's a lifesaver. It's a preserver. So as us coming in to be the flavor of the month, or maybe the flavor of the day, we also can be the preserver. We can be the one that brings the life change. We can be that extension of God to somebody, to a group, to a family, to whoever it is. we can come in and be that. Another thing with salt is, people will use it to soften meat. And so it can be used to soften the hard places. I don't know how many times I have heard, not just about me, but from others as well, that have said, oh, you know what? I've not looked at it that way before. I've had people share with me if I'm going through something difficult and they kind of shine a different, so to say, light on it. I'm like, oh, I didn't see it that way. So we can soften the hard times. We can bring flavor in the hard times. We can add a new flavor. We can be the flavor of the month, and we can be a preserver. So that's salt to me. And if we continue on to light, well, all it takes in a dark room is a match. That's all it takes to bring light, right? So if we're bringing light, we're bringing love, we are bringing illumination, and we are bringing maybe a vantage point that somebody else may not see, because that's what the light does. I can remember being in Guatemala a number of years ago, and I was actually on a trip there where I was speaking at some different churches, but it was a pastor's gathering. So we were there to minister to pastors and to teach them and to encourage them. They didn't get a whole lot of that in the area that they were in, right? But in the middle of the night, we were staying at this resort, which is not resort when it comes to what America's standards are, okay? But that's what it was called. There was a pool there with a water slide. The water was green and people were in it. Okay, so I'm just being clear. And we were told, hey, in the middle of the night, don't be surprised if you hear things on the ceiling in your room. Those are the geckos. They come out at night. So totally different than what we live in, correct? And they also said we have brownouts and blackouts, and so if the power goes out at a certain time every night, because we just turn it off, and it will be very dark. So make sure you have, flashlight or candles. When the lights would go out at midnight or whatever time it was, I literally could hold my hand up in front of my face and not see it. I mean, literally it was that dark. Where I don't see my hand. You turn on one candle, and it was amazing how after your eyes adjusted, you could see everything with a candle. And so we have the ability in the world to bring that light to help someone else see. I could turn on that light so the roommate that I was with didn't stumble in the dark, right? Our job is to bring the light, to help illuminate the path, to give love, encouragement, and direction. And I think if all of us took that statement to heart, be the salt and the light everywhere you go, I think this world would change for the better, like that. So to me, although it certainly was something quoted by Jesus in the New Testament, to me, the meaning of it is very deep.
Wow, that's so profound. And I love that. I think when people understand the salt, the flavor, understanding that it's preservative, and to be honest, our ocean is salty. Salt has helped humanity in so many different ways.
Yeah.
I think it's such a beautiful way to express who you are as a person who has flavor, who has been such a light to us as well, and has been able to bring in so much good. I mean, with so many interviews, you were able to help us, get us started, get us moving. And it's just, we're just so appreciative of you. And I know that I'm going to keep praising you throughout this podcast. So I'm going to pass this over to Katie, who actually does have a.
Yeah, because I actually do, because your bio is obviously very impressive. You have done so many amazing things and have touched so many amazing lives. And in my mind, that puts you in a position of being a leader. Mm-hmm. And that is a title that I never figured I would have, but I've been told recently that I am a leader. So yes. As an expert leader, how do you inspire yourself so you can inspire others?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. You ladies are bowling strikes here today. These are fabulous questions. I love that. leaders need to stay full. In order for a leader to lead, the leader needs to stay full, right? You know, a glass that's half empty is not full, right? And if you don't continue to fill up yourself, you end up dry, you end up running on fumes, and you're no good for you. I don't want to say you're no good, strike it from the record. You're not in the place that you could be. So I think that understanding that leadership does not mean just go, 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 go. It means first and foremost, pour into yourself. And one of the number one ways that I have found what works for me is having a really detailed morning routine. And yes, I am a stickler about it so that I actually get it done, okay? Because I know I am much better for the rest of my day if I get it in than I am if I don't get it in. So number one, that I've always said also that leaders are readers. And some people say, oh, but I don't want to read. Okay, I get it. I totally get it. If I wasn't reading things that were bettering me, if I wasn't reading, you know, the latest like self-discovery book or writing one like Your Next Best You that we just did, those type of books are really easy for me to get excited and read. But if that wasn't what I was reading, it would be a challenge for me to get myself to crack the book open. So I understand when people say, oh, you know, I don't want to read, but I want to challenge that, because reading even 5 minutes a day means that in a week, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, you have spent a half an hour reading. And tell me, is that going to change your life? It will. And if you still like, no, I don't think so, there's this wonderful app and other avenue called Audible. And there's other Audible type of things out there where you can listen. There's podcasts where they will read the book to you or bring the author on and have the author talk to you and teach you that way. You can go to YouTube, and a lot of books, a lot of the classics that are inspiring, uplifting, self-discovery, self-help, you can find those right on YouTube, and again, listen to them. So I really encourage leaders that I coach to be readers. And then obviously I said leaders that I coach. I think that every leader needs a coach / mentor. There really are two different veins with coaching and or mentoring, but I'm putting a / in there just for now, saying that having a coach or mentor is really paramount. And I didn't realize that until I started having, like on a regular basis, mentors and coaches. I had them throughout my whole adult life, but when I was stepping out of one type of life into another, so I had been in a ministry circle for 25 plus years and had people that were mentoring me in that avenue. When I stepped out and went more into mainline and coaching here and business coaching and leadership coaching, books, and life coaching, transformation coaching, and then going out and still speaking, I was like, okay, I need somebody that's further down the road than me. How do I continue to lead when I don't have someone to follow? And that's really important for leaders. You need someone to follow. Even if you're not following exactly in their steps, they've been there, they know you, they get to really understand your personality and how you're wired. They can be they have call you on the carpet status. They can tell you what they need to say, and that they can help you continue to grow. So I think that those things are really of high value. So having that structured morning routine, reading, making that part of your routine even in the morning, and having a mentor or coach are 3 things, Katie, that I really gravitate towards. And I know that it has made me better. It's helped me navigate terrain that I've never been in. And leaders still have lives. So we still have stuff happen, and we need someone that we can lean on to help us keep the vision and help us to manage difficult situations so that we can still do, what we do for our clients, those that we're pouring into in our lives. We need to maintain as leaders. Leaders can take a couple days off here or there, but you can't just normally say, okay, well, life is happening, so I'm going to be gone for 6 months. You can't do that when you're a leader. You need to be able to continue to take care of your people. And honestly, if we just said, I'm out of here for 6 months, there goes the paycheck. So you also need to continue moving forward. So I hope that answered your question.
It does. It provides a little bit of insight. And it's funny that you talk about reading because one of my mentors gave me a book called The Manifesting Manifesto, I think. It's some kind of some title like that. I could not get past the introduction because I wasn't there yet. My mindset wasn't there yet. So my mom sent me a book on how to be your own best friend and is like, here, start here.
Yay, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Yay, Mom.
That's
so yeah, the reading part I understand. I'd much rather read my vampire werewolf politic books and get away from reality, but I do understand that reading this self-care, self-improvement type content not only helps me, but it will allow me to then help others.
Absolutely. That's so good. And not holding yourself accountable in the way of, this needs to be an hour. I have to do all of this stuff. Like, give yourself permission to have a life and to have schedule hiccups and all of that. And if you get in a 5-minute morning routine one day, yay, it's better than no minute. And if you get 30 minutes in the next, wonderful. And of course, our goal is to hit that, diamond mind of whatever that is for you. If it's an hour, if it's an hour and a half, if it's 30 minutes, whatever it is, but give yourself the wiggle room to be human and continue to move forward. Even if that means today's morning routine is 5 minutes of a podcast in my car on my way to work, on my way to dropping my kids off, on my way to the gym, whatever it is, just be real. And I think that also de-stresses, at least it does for me, that there's not this false image or perception that I'm trying to keep up. It's just consistency. John Tallarico always teaches, and that was a Bob Proctor thing, right? So yay, Bob, yay, John, constant spaced repetition. So if we continue to be consistent, we are going to reap the rewards, no matter who we are. But especially now as leaders, we're talking, because how we think affects what we believe. What we believe affects how we behave. How we behave dictates results. So if we don't like the results, we need to back up the train, and it comes back to this. What are we thinking? And so as leaders, I know for me, I have to watch what I'm thinking so that I am effective and not going into burnout or anything else. It's really important and to be that consistent, because whether you think you're being consistent or not, you are. A lot of times we're being consistent, beating ourselves up, aren't we? I'm not good enough. I can't believe it, 3 days in a row. I haven't gotten my morning routine in. I'm failing. I didn't meet my goals. I didn't, I'm not as good as this person. And and we're doing it, you see, and it's constant. And it might be spaced. Maybe you think it and then you go do something else and you come back, but it's that repetition. And before you know it, it takes a truckload of people to pull us out of the hole we've dropped ourselves in. So we are being constant with our repetition, whether we want to admit it or not. It is an adjustment for all of us to start making sure that what we're being constant about is filling us with the right food, giving the right plant food on the right roots so that we bloom where we're planted. Thank you for letting me share that.
That's a beautiful analogy too, because it really is, not only physically with what nutrition that we feed ourselves, but what we feed ourselves through our eyes, through our ears, that really does support where it is that we want to go. And I have a couple amazing mentors in my life right now who have been, for how do they describe it? Learning discernment. How they love everyone, even if they do not love the deeds that somebody does.
Oh, that's so good.
And I'm like, that is a great definition. I absolutely love it. I'm stealing it. And they're like, you're not stealing it. We're giving you permission to use it. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. The point is that that's not something that I had the capability of understanding the difference prior to all of the self-growth, all of the other training that I've been doing over the past 2 years. This was not something that was even on my radar back when I had my corporate job. Thank you, COVID, for getting me out of a corporate job.
Right on.
So interesting, because I've been with Katie through the past 2 years. Actually, yeah, when I first met her, and we were talking about it earlier, but Motivation Manifesto, that was one of the first personal development books that I read as well, which is great. And then I remember the second one that I had the same experience where I was like, I can't get past the first chapter. Well, is this Shakespeare? Why can't I understand? It's English, right? Like what? And it was the book actually was As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. That was actually the book that I was like, what? And I was 19. So it's totally a different framework when you read those words and they're not really sinking in yet. You're just like, okay, sure. And then a month later, I came back to the book and I was able to read it because my mindset already had the paradigm shift immediately. What I find interesting is that when you are given information that will elevate your life, you kind of can't go back. So it's
one of my mentors asked me if there was any way that I could go back. And I'm like, no, the train has gone too far. I have jumped off the tracks too far. I'm not walking backwards anymore. I can only walk forwards, because there really is no option, because looking back, I was functional. I worked a 9-to-5 job. I got up every morning. I did my daily routine. I was there for my husband. I was there for my son. But I wasn't Katie. I was Katrina, because I used my legal name when I worked at my corporate job. I was that persona. And when I lost my job, that part of me, quote unquote, died, because I realized I wasn't happy. And that's when I started doing this healing of self-discovery and everything else like that, because one, I needed to fill my time. And two, I took a more active role in the Teen Suicide Prevention Society. And for me to be able to be a support for the nonprofit, I needed to take care of my own trash, the trash in my head, get over my own limiting beliefs. So then that way I could help other people do the same. And eventually my mom will hear this podcast and hear her say thank you, but I won't tell her any other time, because it really does help me realize as to how stuck I was. And when we have blinders on like that, we don't realize what the potentials are until those blinders are gone. We have to be aware first before we can actually see.
I love that. You don't know what you don't know. Powerful. I love that.
All this stuff I've been learning.
So good. It's so good. Like, you just don't know what you don't know. And knowledge is power as long as you appropriate what you're learning. If you're just holding it inside, then it's just knowledge. But it is power when you appropriate it. And that's what I'm hearing you say, Katie, is that you found that just kind of going through those motions, all the knowledge, but there was no heartfelt appropriation of what you were doing. You were going through the steps, going through the motions, but there was nothing that, and when I say appropriating it, it's like bringing those aha moments, that revelation, that feeling of fulfillment. It's like the versus being alive and the Walking Dead, right? Like just going and just continuing to do day after day, day after day, day after day. And then all of a sudden having that epiphany and awakening to there's more. And then being able to start appropriating the knowledge. And then all of a sudden there's power, and you find yourself as a healer being utilized to help people navigate through difficult things in their lives. You are hosting a podcast. You're being divinely directed and connected, just like you and Ace were over unicorn headgear.
Yeah.
You know, like it's you know, you, as Les Brown says, you can't make this stuff up, you know. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and it comes from the heart of saying, I want to answer the call. I want to do more. God, is there more than this? Is there something else? What is there? What do I do? And then being willing to step out of that proverbial boat and take that chance to walk on the water and begin to appropriate what you know. Because if you don't know, you don't know. And ignorance, I don't even want to say is bliss, because I don't think there's a lot of people out there with ignorance. And if you walked up and asked them on the street corner, you know, oh, so you living the life you live with all the challenges that you're having, do you find your ignorance bliss? I think most of them would say, no, I don't find, you know, what I wish I knew. I wish I knew more. I wish I knew. And so finding and coming to that place where we're willing to begin to grow ourselves mentally, emotionally, to grow ourselves in the realm of the spirit, to grow ourselves in every facet that we can, for the purpose that we have a purpose by design. There's something that I'm here to do, that you're here to do, that nobody else has been put here to do, but you have been. And until we step up to the plate and do that, it's like Swiss cheese with an empty hole. There is that hole that is not being filled. And so there's a hole, you could say, within the community that you're not filling, I'm not filling, but there's a hole within us. And some call that a God-sized hole. And that God-sized hole, meaning that there is a divine purpose. There is a reason why you're here. And until you find that and you plug that hole with all that divine purpose, that design, I think people walk around in a fog and they have moments, and then they fall right back into that slumber. And folks like the two of you, like myself, I feel like we ring the dinner bell, or we're the alarm clock, and waking them up and showing them there's another way, there's a better way, there's a higher way, there's a faster way, there's a greater way. You don't have to live like this. There's so much more for you. And that comes from choosing, well, saying yes, somebody showing you, like you both had people in front of you showing you. I had people in front of me showing me, but then realizing that I can grow from here. There's more, and I don't have to be ignorant, and I can step up and step out into something even greater. So many people don't even know that, like just that right now, right there. They don't realize, and I'm not talking about your job either. You can work wherever, however, whatever you want to do. Thank goodness for people that are doing all things, from the CEOs to the CFOs to those that are sweeping the floors. Nobody is better than the other, and we need all. We need all. But wherever you're at, there's more for you. And a lot of people are just punching a time clock, punching in, punching out, same thing tomorrow, punching in, punching out. They don't
autopilot.
Anything else. Autopilot. Oh my gosh, that is so good. Can I share one more thing? I know you guys have questions, but this just example, I haven't shared this example in a while, so I feel like I should. So I am not really big in the kitchen. Like, I like to cook or bake a little bit, but I'm not, that's not my thing. Okay. My mother loves to bake and loves to cook. I didn't get that gene. Okay. I do it because I need to, or because, oh, I wonder what that would be like. Let's just try that. So with that being said, I have a Ninja blender, and I use it pretty much for one thing, to blend. And sometimes maybe frappe. But I realized one day as I was looking at all of the bazillion buttons on it, this thing is a rock star. It could do so much, but I don't use all of its abilities. It has all this untapped potential that I've never looked into. I've never investigated it. And I think in life, this was the reflection that I had on that. How many of us are on blend, puree, or frappe, repeat? Blend, frappe, repeat. When there's mincing and there's, so many other things in there. I mean, now I'm like, man, I can put what in my Ninja? And it's just, just chop it all up. It's amazing. So there's so much more to each one of us. But if there's never someone to address it or kind of light the path for you, coming back to being that salt and the light, or you don't allow yourself, you don't get intentional about self-worth, self-care, and addressing the question, is this all there is? Is this it? Or you become wrongly satisfied, because I don't think you're fulfilled. I think it's a feeling of false satisfaction to just blend, puree, repeat, get up, eat breakfast, go to work, come home, get up, eat breakfast, go to work, come home. That you don't ever step outside of the box and see all the other things, abilities and potential are with you. And then you grow and you grow and you grow and come maybe to the end, getting closer to the end of life. I've ministered and talked with many people that are at that stage, and rarely do I hear, I have no regrets. Usually I hear, I wish I would have, should have, would have, could have. And that comes back to all those things. Are we just going to blend? Are we just going to puree? There's so much more. And that is what the knowledge brings to us. And knowledge isn't like going back to school knowledge. That's great if that's what you want to do. I'm talking about podcasts like this, having that mentor, reading those books that spark fire in you and make you want to go and, conquer the world. Let's go change the world together, because together we can do it. So anyways, that's what I wanted to share, was the blender story. I hadn't said that in a while. I hope that was okay.
No, it's a great analogy. Because
Really?
heaven knows I've got tons of kitchen appliances that probably do things I've never done before.
Even my microwave. You know how many buttons there are on that microwave? Like I literally use the 30 seconds, and there's these 8 other buttons that I've never pressed on the microwave. And I don't know what to do. It's so interesting. Yeah.
Yes, it's so interesting. And that is so much like our human nature, that if someone had told me, let's say 7 years ago, that I was going to have all of these books and writing books and coaching people with books, and then be a #1 visionary, #1 international bestselling author. I mean, literally, I think I would have laughed him out of the universe. Like just hilarious. See, it was a button on that microwave, whatever, popcorn, whatever. It was there, and I had never looked into it. I didn't know what I didn't know until all of a sudden the opportunity presented itself. And do I say yes? Or do I just continue to blend? And I remember that. And I was like, I've never done this before. Let's try it. I was absolutely terrified. But look at what's happened, So all those buttons, I just want to encourage all of us right now. When we're done on this podcast, you go find whatever that is, your blender, your microwave, your washing machine, I don't know, whatever it is. Maybe you got a power tool out in the garage. Go look and see what it does that you didn't know that it did, and then relate that back to yourself. Because I'm telling you, there's untapped potential in all of us. And our job while we're here, our gift back to God for giving us life, is to die empty, meaning all potential becomes tapped. And when we leave, we have poured out all that we can as far as potential, not die empty, like, oh, I'm so tired. I mean, like, there's nothing more. There's nothing more because we've given. And so everybody go look at those power tools and appliances and relate it back to yourself. And then get going. Pop the popcorn, blend, frappe, mince, whatever. Get going.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. I love that you shared, like, especially the don't pour yourself all the way out.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, all right, I'm so tired, I'm ready to die. No, that's not it. That's not what we're looking for. What you
No.
want to do is you want to get to that place of like, I've given everything, I've created everything I've always wanted. It's already being poured back into me, that type of feeling where you're in that perfect state of gratitude. And you're just sitting there thinking, wow, I did what I needed to do. I accomplished it. Thank you for all the opportunities. Thank you for the evolution. Thank you for the change. Thank you so much for the life I had in order to do this. This is incredible. And be at that grace. That is the type of like you've given.
I love that.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for versus the burnout, which everyone is definitely associating with that. I did at one point, especially my generation. And I think it is really important that you want to enjoy your life too. Like you want to fulfill your life.
Yes. Yes. And enjoy where you're at. You know, even if there's things where you're at that you're like, oh, I don't like that. I don't want that. I challenge you to find the joy in where you're at and not wish it away. We want to wish, we want the change. It's going to come as long as we're working on it. But in the process, do we just want to wish our life away? You know, all of a sudden, my children are like almost all I have grown kids, and I have some that are still at home, but they're coming up 14, 15. And I'm like, when did this happen? When did this happen? And so I'm somebody that purposes to be mindful and be present and in the moment. But if we're busy focusing on what we wish was different all the time, we're not going to enjoy today. And we don't get today back. We don't get, oh, well, we'll get another October 3rd, October 4th, but not 2023. We don't get it back. So maximize your day and your time. Yes, for work purposes. Yes, to do good, but just to be present. Like I'm here with you two, and I'm trying to be really present because tomorrow I won't be here like this with the two of you. So to me, this is a treasured, sacred moment and experience. And instead of wishing things away, I wish, and when this happens and when that happens, what about today? Isn't there anything you can find today? Even though there's things you want changed, even though there's people that bother you, even though there's situations that stink, can you find joy in today? Somewhere your heart's beating.
Oh, thanks.
Something,
Yeah.
right? Because if all we do is waste our days, we are never going to get to a place that we want to get to, because that is what we're pulling to us is, ugh, I can't wait to get out of here. I hate being around them. Just think about that. Whereas that person might get under my skin and annoy me. I agree. I see it. I feel it. Now, what am I going to do with that? And how do I pull myself over here in a place to raise up my gratitude or my vibration or my just heart? And my heart would feel different so that I can move forward and not have Same thing, different day. Blend and repeat. Blend, puree, repeat. Oh, I hate my life. You see what I'm saying? So it's important to be present, but even when there's all that crud, and I know that there is, we all have our stuff that we're dealing with, taking that time to say, wait a minute, what is serving me? And looking at that and being, oh, so grateful for it. Even if it's just that glass of water, or I have nothing else that's serving me except my heart is beating. Well, that is enough, because you know what? There's a lot of people that their heart isn't beating today, but ours is. There's a lot of people that didn't get to the age that you and I are at, that any of us here are at, but we are, whether that's 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 120. There are people that didn't get there, but you're here. And if we will camp on those majors, I think it will begin to shift and change how we see life. It'll change how we feel life, and it'll catapult us into our purpose and fully, like, we'll walk it out, because our purpose is a day-by-day thing, right? It's not just like, well, my purpose, I got to get catapulted out into it 10 years from today. No, it will just continue to walk in it, right? It's so important. I love that you shared that. Thank you for sharing that. So powerful.
Thank you for sharing everything that you have with us. I don't want this conversation to end, but I know that we actually do have to come to an end of this conversation. With all of the nuggets of information, that these aren't just gold nuggets, these are titanium and platinum nuggets, and you know, the precious gemstones that they are. With everything that you've tied in together, I just want to say thank you, because it has given me more awareness.
Wow. Thank you. Awareness is key for all of us. And that is something that is on my prayer list every day, is that, God, don't let me miss a beat. I mean, what's on your agenda for today? And I want to be aware. I don't want to miss. Don't let me miss things. And granted, we all do miss things, but I think if you start your day out with that awareness of, like, I want to be aware, help me be aware, right? That you will begin to maximize that awareness in everything that we do. So I love, Katie, that you said that. Thank you.
You know, I love the fact of being present, and how being present here with both of you has really shifted a lot of different things. And there's such a big perspective on, hey, living in the age of social media, a lot of us compare all the time, or we wish our lives were like somebody else's lives. Like, I get it, I went to Costa Rica, or I get it, somebody else went to Abu Dhabi and like experienced something totally different. And you're always looking at that other side, and then time slips away from you. That is something that is really poignant. I understand you can utilize your social media to inspire others, but being present with people and really holding space with each other, like Dr. Pamela said, will shift things. You'll get to see, hear, and be aware of something totally different that you've never seen before, like the blender. But thank you. Thank you so much. We love having you here, Dr. Pamela. We're going to have you here again, as always, and you're always welcome to send us any of your authors.
Absolutely.
We loved having them here. You have been such an incredible light for us. I really appreciate your presence today. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me.
If you can't see what is next, ask yourself, what if?
Thank you for joining us. We hope that the discussion today will inspire you to take positive action in your life. Until next week, be empowered.